Welcome to the Way of the Taibhsear podcast. This is episode 17, Vision Questing. This week's Celtic goddess is Jaideen. That's spelled A-I-D-I-N. She's the Celtic goddess of love and sexuality. When her husband Oscar died in battle, she grieved so much that she died too. She's the goddess of psychic powers and intuition. Honeysuckle is her sacred plant, and hummingbirds are her sacred animals. Invoke Jaideen when you need deeper psychic abilities or intuition, especially in matters of love and sexuality. Should Jaideen appear to you, prepare for a period of growth in your powers of clairvoyance. The Vision Quest is a time-honored rite of passage common to shamanic tribes throughout the world. It is used to determine your life's purpose and mission. The Vision Quest may take on many forms, but the exercise we will be discussing in this podcast will be using the form of the all-night vigil. To do this activity, first find a place that calls out to you. It may be your sacred space, or some other place that feels full of energy to you. Make sure it's a place that you will be undisturbed for the duration of the night. Dress in comfortable, loose-fitting clothing. You may wish to take a blanket with you to ward off the chill night air, and to make sure that the place you have chosen for your vision quest is a safe place, free of predators of the four-legged or two-legged variety. The 5 phases of a vision quest would be as follows. Phase 1 is preparation. Find your sacred space for the vision quest and prepare yourself by first asking permission of the spirits there to use the place for your intended purpose. Then wait for a reply. When you feel that permission has been given, make an offering or libation to the spirits there to express your gratitude. If you sense that permission has not been given, then it's best to put off your vision quest until another day. Phase 2 is separation. A vision quest is a vigil that must be accomplished alone. While your friends, family, or pets may accompany you to the site, once the vision quest has begun, they should leave you alone with the spirits. Make sure that everyone understands this before you begin, so that you're not interrupted. Phase 3 is isolation. Once you're alone, sit or stand comfortably on the ground and center yourself. You may wish to perform meditation as you prepare yourself to receive what your chosen site will be sending to you this night. Although this rite is called a vision quest, remain open to what all of your other senses may be telling you as well. What sounds, smells, or other physical sensations might you be getting that could be interpreted as a message about your life's purpose? It may help to build a campfire or to light a candle to give you a center of focus. Phase 4 is assimilation. Once you feel you're ready, ask the universe to reveal your life purpose to you, and wait for a reply. Sometimes this reply may come as a vision, or as a dream, or just as a feeling in your spirit. Stay awake all night, if possible, and greet the dawn with open acceptance. Look for messages from the environment. Do the trees speak to you? Are you visited by any animals? A visit from your totem animal would be especially powerful at this time. Phase 5 and the final phase is interpretation. The magical thing about a vision quest is that any message you receive is yours and yours alone. So how you choose to interpret the omens is totally up to you. When your life's mission is revealed, greet the dawn and offer thanks. If, however, your mission is not revealed, try again at another time, after preparing yourself by a period of meditation, fasting, and thanksgiving. If you have the time, the availability, and the place, you may wish to conduct your own vision quest this week. If at all possible, this should be done outdoors, using the guidelines and the steps from the previous section. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, This might be difficult as we're still in the middle of winter here, but if you wish, postpone until spring when the weather's more accommodating. If the weather's too bad right now to do your vision quest outdoors, you may also want to do one indoors. If you perform the vision quest indoors, try to do so in a room that has a window with a view to a peaceful nature scene. If you don't have access to such a window, you may create your own sweat lodge by throwing blankets over the backs of chairs in your living room. If you choose this method, the idea is to eliminate as many distractions as possible. This includes removing any sources of noise such as televisions, telephones, radios, small children, and pets. The exception here is that if you have a recording of nature sounds like ocean waves or chirping crickets, such recordings may be used to filter out any distractions. Following the 5 phases we discussed in the previous section, starting with preparation and proceeding through all of the steps until assimilation, don't worry about the interpretation phase. You'll do that after you have done your vision quest. You might wish to write down these questions to use for your interpretation phase once you have completed your vision quest. First question: who came to you during your vision quest? Did you see a god or a goddess, an animal totem, a friend or a family member? Did anyone at all show up? If so, what is the meaning of your relationship with this person or entity? If nobody showed up, did anything else of significance occur during your vision quest? 2. What happened during your vision quest? Did you see, hear, taste, smell, or feel anything that was of personal significance to you? If so, what was it? If not, what did you learn during the process about your own thoughts, feelings, and internal states? If something of significance did happen, when did it happen? Was it towards the beginning of your quest, towards the middle, or towards the end? What message might you interpret from the time that your event happened? Where specifically did your event occur? Was it in front of you, behind you, over your left or right shoulder, above your head, below you? What interpretation might you give to the place where your event occurred? If nothing at all occurred, what interpretation might you give to this? 5th question: how did your omen make its presence known? What about it attracted your attention? If you feel that nothing happened during your vision quest, is it possible that you may have missed something? Even the smallest of events can be omens to those who have prepared their hearts and minds to receive them. Why did you get the message you received? What is its significance to you? After doing your vision quest and answering all these questions, you may wish to write your responses in your journal or your blog.
I was in the court of kings, I saw great halls and countless gems. It's where I heard Taibhsear sing of the love of women and the deeds of men. Miawen's light filled his eyes, a fire burned within his head, as he sang of times long past and cried for Merlin, Arthur and Galahad. Man, we then care it when the old ones let us sing to them, Harry and Rod, Bran and Bell. Blood I with Kyliach, the old gods, they are coming back. Listen, people, to the tales I tell. I have been a crashing wave, a stallion across the sea, and I have been a rutting stag, and I hold Albion's destiny. The cauldron deep in Anun's mist, with Blackthorn's staff I travelled there, and Arthur fate did kiss. The 7 castles we did dare. Man, we then care it when the old ones let us sing to them, Harry and Rod, Bran and Bell. Blood I with Kyliach, the old gods, they are coming back. Listen, people, to the tales I tell. I have seen the plants and trees, great oak, the ash and sacred thorn, bring Anun's host to its knees, and suffer mighty Gwydion scorn. But still the fight could not be won, until they guessed the giant's name, ravens and alder on his shield. By the branch you bear, Bran, is your name. Man, we then care it when the old ones let us sing to them, Harry and Rod, Bran and Bell. Lord, I with Kyliach, the old gods, they are coming back. Listen, people, to the tales I tell. Man, we then care it when the old ones let us sing to them, Harry and Rod, Bran and Bell. Lord, I with Kyliach, the old gods, they are coming back. Listen, people, to the tales I tell. Listen, people, to the tales I tell. I said, listen, people, to the tales I tell. Come and listen, people, to the tales I tell.
In times past, there lived in Penlyn a man of gentle lineage named Tegid Vol, and his dwelling was in the midst of the lake Tegid, and his wife was called Caridwen. And there was born to him of his wife a son named Morvran ap Tegid, and also a daughter named Ciari. She was the fairest maiden in the world, and they had a brother, the most ill-favored man in the world, a Fagdu. Now Caridwen, his mother, thought that he was not likely to be admitted among the men of noble birth, by reason of his ugliness, unless he had some exalted merits or knowledge. For it was in the beginning of Arthur's time and of the Round Table. So she resolved, according to the arts of the books of the Fairlet, to boil a cauldron of inspiration and science for her son, that his reception might be honorable because of his knowledge of the mysteries of the future state of the world. Then she began to boil the cauldron, which from the beginning of its boiling might not cease to boil for a year and a day, until 3 blessed drops were obtained of the grace of inspiration. And she put the boy Gwienbach to stir the cauldron, and a blind man named Morda to kindle the fire beneath it. And she charged to them that they should not suffer it to cease boiling for the space of a year and a day. And she herself, according to the books of the astronomers, and in planetary hours, gathered every day of all the charm-bearing herbs. And one day, towards the end of the year, as Ceridwen was culling plants and making incantations, it chanced that 3 drops of the charmed liquor flew out of the cauldron and fell upon the finger of Gwienbach. And by reason of their great heat, he put his finger into his mouth. And the instant he put those marvel-working drops into his mouth, he foresaw everything that was to come, and perceived that his chief care must be to guard against the wiles of Ceridwen, for vast was her skill. And in very great fear he fled towards his own land. And the cauldron burst in 2, because all the liquor within, except for the 3 charm-bearing drops, was poisonous, so that the horses of Garanir were poisoned by the water of the stream into which the liquor of the cauldron ran. And the confluence of that stream was called the poison of the horses of Gwyddno, from that time forth. Thereupon came in Ceridwen, and saw all the toil of the whole year was lost. And she seized a billet of wood, and struck the blind Morda on the head until one of his eyes fell out on his cheek. And he said, "Wrongfully hast thou disfigured me, for I am innocent. Thy loss was not because of me." "Thou speakest the truth," said Ceridwen. "It was Gwienbach who robbed me." And she went forth after him, running. And he saw her, and he changed himself into a hare, and fled. But she changed herself into a greyhound, and turned him. And he ran towards the river, and became a fish. And she, in the form of an otter bitch, chased him under the water, until he was fain to turn himself into a bird of the air. She then, as a hawk, followed him, and gave him no rest in the sky. And just as she was about to stoop upon him, and he was in fear of death, he espied a heap of winnowed wheat on the floor of the barn, and he dropped amongst the wheat, and turned himself into one of the grains. Then she transformed herself into a high-crested black hen, and went to the wheat and scratched it with her feet, and found him out, and swallowed him. And, as the story says, she bore him 9 months, and when she was delivered of him, she could not find it in her heart to kill him by reason of his great beauty. So she wrapped him in a leathern bag, and cast him into the sea to the mercy of the gods, on the 29th day of April. And at that time the weir of Gwyddno was on the strand near to his own castle, and the value of 100 pounds was taken into that weir every May Eve. And in those days Gwyddno had an only son named Elphin, the most hapless of youths, and the most needy. And it grieved his father sore, for he thought that he must have been born in an evil hour. And by the advice of his council, his father had granted him the drawing of the weir that year, to see if good luck would ever befall him, and to give him something wherewith to begin in the world. And the next day, when Elphin went to look, there was nothing in the weir. but as he turned back, he perceived the leathern bag upon a pole of the weir. And then said one of the weir ward unto Elphin, Thou wast never lucky until tonight, and now thou hast destroyed the virtues of the weir, which always yielded the value of 100 pounds every May Eve. And tonight there is nothing but this leathern skin within it. How now, said Elphin, there may be within the value of 100 pounds. Well, they took up the leathern bag, and he who opened it saw the forehead of the boy within, and said to Elphin, Behold, a radiant brow. Taibhsear shall he be called, said Elphin, for Taibhsear means he of the radiant brow. And he lifted the boy in his arms, and lamenting his mischance, he placed him sorrowfully behind him, and he made his horse to amble gently that before had been trotting, and carried him as softly as if he had been sitting in the easiest chair in the world. And presently the boy made a consolation and a praise to Elphin, and foretold honor to Elphin. And the consolation was, as you may see, Fair Elphin, cease to lament. Let no one be dissatisfied with his own. To despair will bring no advantage. No man sees what supports him. The prayer of Sinlo will not be in vain. The gods will not violate their promise. Never in Gwydno's weir was there such good luck as this night. Fair Elphin, dry thy cheeks. Being too sad will not avail. Although thou thinkest thou hast no gain, too much grief will bring thee no good. Nor doubt the miracles of the gods. Although I am but little, I am highly gifted. From seas and from mountains, and from the depths of rivers, the gods bring wealth to the fortunate man. Elphin of the lively qualities, thy resolution is unmanly. Thou must not be over sorrowful. Better to trust in the gods than to forebode ill. Weak and small as I am, on the foaming beach of this ocean, in the day of trouble I shall be of more service to thee than 300 salmon. Elphin of the notable qualities, be not displeased at thy misfortune. Although reclined thus weak in my bag, there lies a virtue in my tongue. While I continue thy protector, thou hast not much to fear. Remembering the names of the gods, none shall be able to harm thee. And this was the first poem that Taibhsear ever sang, being to console Elphin in his grief, for that the produce of the weir was lost, and what was worse, that all the world would consider that it was through his fault and ill luck.
Somewhere between the boy and the girl, between truth and pain, somewhere between confusion, I'm sure that this soul will burn in that flame. Somewhere between the heart and the mind and the feeling is something so wrong. The body betrays, no words can say who's been here all along. Somewhere between the woman and man, the world out there and the real deep in inside. Living between, it ain't no way to live, but we do what we must to survive. Somewhere between the religion and the spirit divine in your breast, all caught up in that illusion that what everyone else thinks is best. Oh, yesterday's shame, it has shaped me. Tomorrow's a day to come clean. Oh, today will you love me? Please don't judge me, 'cause I'm just learning to love me, and I'm not ready yet to be seen. Let me stay here. Between somewhere between who I have been and the person I'm learning to be. Oh, I gotta live this. I don't need your forgiveness, and I make no apologies. Oh, yesterday's shame, it has shaped me. Tomorrow's day to come clean. Today will you love me? Please don't judge me, 'cause I'm just learning to love me, and I'm not ready yet to be seen. Let me stay here.
About 20 years ago, my former wife and I had purchased some land with the intent of creating our dream home. We had started having marital problems before we could start building the house, though. When we separated, she got the house we'd been living in up until that time, and I got the new parcel of land we'd just purchased. It was a fairly remote location, full of old-growth hardwoods with a creek at the back of the property, nestled in the foothills of the Appalachians. Needless to say, I was upset at the separation and the impending divorce. I felt cast adrift emotionally and spiritually. I was also in pretty dire financial straits due to the fact that we ran a business together, and it was closed when we separated. Since I was now in effect homeless, I had to set about finding a place to live as soon as possible. I suppose I could have found an apartment somewhere, or I could have rented a small house, but somehow that decision just didn't feel right. I had just finished reading Thoreau's Walden for the millionth time, so an idea occurred to me as I was out walking on that 3-acre patch of woods that now belonged to me. The creek on the property was an ample fresh water source, and there were wild berries and nuts in abundance on the property. There was a place to plant a garden in the sun, and a beautiful level patch of land and a natural clearing in the woods that was a perfect location for a small home. I decided that I needed some time to sort things out, and I knew I wouldn't get the chance by plunging back into the rat race. So then and there, I made a decision. I emptied out my humble savings account and built a little 8x12 cob cabin with a small deck out back. I also built a shower stall. My shower consisted of a 5-gallon plastic bag with a nozzle on the end. I filled this up every morning, placed it on the roof to catch the sun. Then I'd hang it in the shower stall after the water had heated to a tolerable level. Sometimes on warm days, later that spring, I'd just skip the shower and bathe in the creek. My bed was a hammock fastened to the walls of the cabin. I had a lantern, a collection of books, a sketch pad or two, and a deck chair. I also had my guitar and a radio for entertaining my friends who dropped by on occasion to visit and help build my home. After my tiny cob castle was built, I settled in to prepare myself for whatever lesson life was about to teach me. I moved into the cabin on February of 1996. By that spring, I had a nice variety of vegetables in the garden. They kept me fed, along with a few staples I bought from the grocer in the nearby town. I had fresh water from the creek. When I cooked, I had hibachis fueled with hickory deadfall. It wasn't a banquet, but it's probably the healthiest diet I've ever eaten. After a while, I didn't miss the meat that much. I found that after a month or two of living this wilderness existence, my perceptions about the world around me took on new meanings. The clocks, calendars, and schedules of the 9-to-5 world melted away, and I became attuned to the rhythms of the woods. I had no place to be, and no time to be there. The wildlife was at first shy of me, but after they saw that I meant them no harm, they accepted me, and I accepted them. That spring I came home from my walks in the woods to discover that a mother sparrow had built a nest on the shelf inside of my cabin. As I got ready for bed, she poked her head out and glanced at me. When she saw that I was no threat, she settled back in and lived there until her hatchlings grew up and left the nest. I'd greet her every morning, and she'd answer back with a song. Here I was living in an unheated, unair-conditioned shack out in the woods, with no indoor plumbing and no electricity. Yet it was one of the most enjoyable times of my life. I awoke in the mornings on the weekends to sell my arts and crafts at a local craft market. I had a battery-powered alarm clock to wake me on those days, but it soon became unnecessary. A woodpecker had taken up residence in a tree near my cabin, and every morning his breakfast foraging woke me up. In the evenings I'd sit on the deck and play my guitar by torchlight, while my supper cooked on the hibachi. A skunk soon became a regular visitor. At first I worried about getting sprayed by him, but apparently he just came to listen to the music. He'd sit a few feet away, listening to my guitar. Then he'd go off on his nightly rounds. He sometimes shared my evening leftovers with a family of possums, who also visited from time to time. I gradually became accepted into the woodland community. At first I was amazed at how the animals showed no fear of me once they discovered I wasn't a threat. It was then that I came to understand that for some reason humankind has set itself apart from nature, by creating a barrier between us and them that doesn't actually exist. By accepting nature as a part of us, we open the door for nature to accept us as a part of it. By treating nature as a respected family member, instead of as an adversary to be conquered, we partake in the circle of life as partners and as family. Eventually, the heat of the day and the chill of the night on those first days of spring no longer bothered me. As I became accustomed to the changes in temperature, I found that I barely noticed them at all. I had become completely attuned to my wilderness home. The forest had embraced me. After a month or two of living apart from the rat race, my way of thinking about the world changed as well. I saw life as one complete living system. I was a part of it, and it was a part of me. To think of myself as separate from nature seemed to be a delusion of the highest degree. I remember one night in particular. The full moon was rising over the distant mountains while I sat and played my guitar. The animals gathered around me for the nightly concert. As I played, an owl landed in a tree directly above me. It looked me in the eye and communicated to me a feeling of peace and oneness that words cannot describe. I heard the crickets singing. I was aware of the tiny field mice scurrying through the grasses. I watched bats chase their supper in the light of my campfire. As I played, I began to hear the sounds of nature around me, blending into a symphony of sound. It was the song of the night, and every living thing had a part to play in this symphony. Everywhere the night creatures were communicating the joy of existence, and I was there with them, feeling it, being it, and living it. It was perhaps the most spiritual night of my life. Maybe I'm trying to describe the indescribable. As we all know, the way that can be spoken of is not the way. I know that such a spiritual experience is beyond the ability of words to express. I also know that in hiding from the world, in our cocoons of concrete and steel, we've forsaken the better part of ourselves. There's a part of nature that would speak to us, but its voice falls on deaf ears. We need to remember how to listen. The great hunger for spiritual things that can be found nowadays in many cultures throughout the world could be satisfied if we returned to our source. It's not as difficult as it seems, and the sacrifices aren't as hard as they would appear. If this world of trinkets and baubles we've built for ourselves is blocking out the melody of nature, and nature's voice is the key to true happiness, what have we lost if we cast off this lie of more stuff? I'm not suggesting that everyone run off and find a cave or a cabin in the woods. Eventually I had to return to the real world. I put the divorce behind me, and my new wife and I bought a home on the side of a mountain, in the woods, of course, and she's been with me ever since. I don't know if I could have stayed in the woods for the rest of my life. I'm not sure that I would have wanted to, even if it were possible. I do know that although that time was over 2 decades ago, I still look back fondly on it. All of the years of my life spent living in civilization weren't as happy overall as the few months I spent in the woods, learning about myself and my place in the world. It was my 40 days in the wilderness, and it prepared me for a life at a deeper and more spiritual level.
earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 aye. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 the earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 the earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 the earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 the earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 the earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, 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 the earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. The earth, the air, the fire, the water, return, 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 return. Aye, aye, aye,
In the Way of the Taibhsear, we use the Celtic tree alphabet known as the Ogham. In this section of the podcast, we will present one character of the Ogham each week, offering information on the meaning of each letter of the Ogham alphabet, trees associated with each letter, the healing and magical properties of each tree, gods and goddesses associated with each tree and letter, and the divinatory meanings of each letter of the Ogham. Since we will be discussing medicinal uses of the plants in this segment of the podcast, please remember that herbal medicine requires caution and practice. None of the medicinal uses discussed on the Way of the Taibhsear podcast should be attempted by a novice. Some parts of the plants of the Ogham are poisonous, and people with allergies should also be aware of the potential allergic reactions to plants. If you are interested in herbal medicine, find a skilled practitioner and take lessons. Do not attempt to use medicinal plants without the supervision of an expert. The letter Z of the Ogham alphabet is represented by Shref, the blackthorn. The divinatory meaning of blackthorn is control, authority, and manipulation. Healing properties of the blackthorn. Sloe berries of the blackthorn are used to make sloe gin. The berries stimulate metabolism and are therefore useful in weight loss. They may also be used as a laxative and as a diuretic. Juice from sloe berries has astringent properties and may be used to tighten the skin or reduce swelling. An infusion or decoction of sloe berries may be used to treat indigestion, allergies, kidney stones, and colds. The chemical properties of this juice allows it to disperse toxins in the blood. Applying the juice of sloe berries to the skin or as a poultice can reduce symptoms of eczema, herpes, and dandruff, and aids in eliminating some types of rash. Tea from blackthorn leaves is useful for a sore throat, tonsillitis, and laryngitis. It may be taken to improve the circulation as well. A tea made from powdered blackthorn bark has a calming effect that helps to settle the nerves. Magical uses of the blackthorn. The blackthorn is known as the dark mother of the forest. This is because this tree is associated with the darker side of magic and the other world. It's the most sinister of the trees in the Ogham. It is believed that we get our word strife from the Gaelic name of the tree, which is Shraif. Seeing a blackthorn tree in your path is considered an ill omen. It is used for working dark magic, spells of revenge, and curses. In Scotland, the Cailleach is said to have a walking stick made of blackthorn. She summons winter every year by striking the ground with the staff, causing it to freeze. This tree has long been linked to battle, murder, and mayhem, and is used in magic involved in binding or cursing. Such curses of revenge are accomplished by using a black rod, which is a staff or wand of blackthorn with thorns at one end. It's considered the tree of the witches, especially of those witches who use their dark arts to achieve their purposes. Such witches often crafted poppets of their enemies and pierced them with thorns from the blackthorn. Such thorns, when used in this manner, were called the pins of slumber. In Irish mythological cycles, the blackthorn was often used in spells of protection. A fleeing army could toss a sprig of blackthorn on the ground, and it would instantly rise up as a thick and dense blackthorn forest, blocking the enemy's path. Gods and goddesses associated with this tree are the Cailleach and Belinus. You've been listening to the Way of the Taibhsear podcast on International Pagan Radio, where it's all pagan all the time. This has been episode 17, Vision Questing. Music on this episode featured Dragon Reg by Sencha Skene, Taibhsear's Song by Dave the Bard, Between by Mama Gina, The Owl in Winter by Sencha Skene, and The Earth, the Air, the Fire, the Water by Libyana. The Way of the Taibhsear is the official podcast of the Order of the Taibhsear. You can learn more about us at Taibhsear.com. That's TAIBHSEAR.com. The Way of the Taibhsear is a podcast about Druidry and paganism as practiced by the Order of the Taibhsear. Paganism is a wide and diverse community, and we don't claim to speak for all pagans. You can get in touch with us at the show at podcast@Taibhsear.com. That's podcast@TAIBHSEAR.com. The Way of the Taibhsear is sponsored by Elder Grove Seminary, offering the best in pagan education with online bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in ministry and divinity. Learn more about Elder Grove Seminary at eldergrove.org. Until next time, blessings of the ancestors.